Hi, Assalamu alaikum. I'm back because YouTube deleted my channel. So let's watch this video. 25 Disney series will ruin your childhood. I'm not.
The children who grew up watching Disney movies have developed so many unrealistic expectations about how life should go. If you're poor like Cinderella, all you have to do is wait around and one day a fairy godmother will come and find you a man who will solve all your problems. If you're exiled from your homeland like Simba and asked never to return, don't worry, Hakuna Matata. Things will turn out just fine for you. Time and time again, Disney has created beautiful yet unachievable dreams that will crush anyone who is just out here traveling second star to the right and straight on till morning. But what they didn't know, that on top of all this information, there is even more disappointment that lies beneath. That's right, it gets worse. Think you were scarred by Scar? That is the least of your worries. We're about to ruin your childhood by diving deep into some dark theories that will sully your memories forever. We'll be looking at 25 examples of movies or shows that have hidden plots that will make you rethink every classic Disney film you've ever watched. Join us!
I don't watch.
We're gonna kick things off with a couple theories on the beloved story Peter Pan. Numero uno is that Peter is the Grim Reaper. For those of you who have seen the film or have read the book, you know that it's a fun-loving tale of a boy who lives in a world where people don't age, and they don't have to deal with real-life adult problems. This theory suggests that when the darlings fly off to Neverland, they're actually already deceased and are transitioning into heaven with the help of Peter, their guide. They meet a host of lost boys who have already passed away. Together, they are at peace in a magical land where they can flirt with fairies and pester pirates for the rest of time. While the idea may be a bit unsettling to children, it could be a lot worse. Remember what happened to Hercules when he gave his soul to Hades? The second Peter Pan theory is that Captain Hook is a former Lost Boy. This one is a bit more complicated because if this is true, he must have escaped Neverland for a hot minute in order to age. Or there's just some rule in the world that if you're a Lost Boy and you decide you want to grow up, you are punished for this decision and turned into a pirate. This may...
To take revenge on Peter Pan. You're killing kids for no reasons. When they age, you will kill them.
Makes sense because Peter is a chaotic ruler and Hook likes to lay down the law. So we can see how their personalities would clash. It could also explain why Peter has such a personal vendetta against Hook. He wants to get revenge on the person who abandoned his clan. If we believe this and the previous theory to be true, that means Hook is a spirit too, meaning Neverland is just one big happy island of ghost people. Our third and final theory on the Man Pan is a crossover between films.
What is this? A crossover episode?
If you recall the mermaids in the movie, you might find that one seems remarkably familiar. I would say mermaids in general seem quite rare, but red-headed ones seems fishy. Fans have suggested that this could be the mother of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. In the prequel, we learned Ariel's mom was hunted down by a pirate. Now, we don't want to point fingers because for all we rare but red-headed ones seems fishy. Fans have suggested that this could be the mother of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. In the prequel, we learned Ariel's mom was hunted down by a pirate. Now, we don't want to point fingers because for all we know, it could have very well been a drunken Jack Sparrow who misfired a pistol. But Ariel's father, King Triton, has a passionate hatred for humans. And Captain Hook hates merkind. We think Hook is the one to blame for Triton's wife's passing, and the reason Ariel doesn't have a mermom growing up. Upon the first watch of Pixar's Cars, the flick is a veritable ride. Cars can talk, you get to hear Owen Wilson's voice, and watching races has never been more action-packed. But one teeny tiny detail that zooms past the average viewer is that there are no humans in this world. One can only wonder, what happened to us? Given these cars didn't spring out of the ground like daisies and are clearly man-made, we had to be there at some point to pump those tires. There are a couple theories that explain the eerie absence. One is that the cars turned against humans and ran them over one by one until the world was just one big pile of human roadkill. And the other very feasible explanation is that humankind was wiped out by pollution. Do yourself a favor and invest in an electric car, then treat it really nicely so none of those options ever have to become a reality. Lewis Carroll, the author behind the fantastical tale Alice in Wonderland, was believed to have used opium recreationally, and we believe it influenced the many twists and turns Alice takes. For example, Alice drinks potions and eats pieces of mushroom to change her physical state and significantly alter reality. She meets a hookah-smoking caterpillar who has the remarkable ability to form letters out of smoke rings, and is about as chill as a scholarly stoner. The whole story is profoundly psychedelic that, in our eyes, this is just one big trippy trip down the rabbit hole. While people who have watched Pixar's Up are already scarred for life after seeing Carl's wife pass away in the most tragic opening montage known to mankind, it's about to get a whole lot worse. A theory suggests that after his sweetheart passed, Carl left our world from a broken heart, and this adventure he goes on is actually in the afterlife. The images of his home rising to the sky and a guardian angel in the form of a plump Boy Scout are some clues that make us believe there is some weight to this idea. We hope that if this is true, in Up 2, he'll finally be reunited with Ellie, and they'll be able to go on the adventures they always planned. Remember in Beauty and the Beast where LeFou sings the Gaston song? The one where he's his personal hype man. In the background, hanging on the wall, we see multiple deer mounted. A number of die-hard Disney fans posit that one of those deer is in fact Bambi's mother. If you think about it, his place is covered with hunting exploits, and he kills just for sport. Because Bambi never saw the killer, it could have very well been him. Just one more reason to hate the tight pant-wearing jerk. Now, this one may be a bit controversial because we all know and love the Lion King, and we certainly don't want to sully it. But this theory has to be unearthed. We all remember the scene where Nala and Simba are sensually tackling each other while Can You Feel the Love Tonight plays in the background. And though heartwarming, we think it's actually one big ruse. We think Nala is actually just using Simba to help her people. Apparently, there's a deleted scene in which Scar tries to make Nala his queen, but she declines and is exiled. This would mean that she wasn't looking for Simba at all. Rather, stumbled upon him and saw an opportunity to get back home and return with the rightful king. We think Nala is a feline with political prowess and deserves her own crown. If you recall, at the end of Monsters, Inc., Sully totally ghosts Boo, and she's left questioning why her new blue friend has disappeared. A theory suggests that after this heartbreak, Boo loses it and decides the best way to cope with the situation is to learn how to time travel, obviously. Because she's logged some hours in Monstropolis, Boo knows that the secret to jumping from place to place lies in the magical hanging doors that she can go in and out of. While trying out this newfound way of traveling through time and space, Boo finally lands on the world of Brave, where she meets Merida. Because we can see a carving that looks very much like Sully in one of the scenes, we believe Boo is the witch and has spent all this time looking to reunite with her old friend.
She's so big.
طلعت 5000 درهم في أول أسبوع من 1000 درهم يعني أنت تتكلم عن 20,000 شهريا.
Did you know that Nemo in Latin translates to nothing? Well, that's exactly what he is. Nothing. A figment of Marlin's imagination. We think that after the brutal attack of his wife and children, Marlin was in such distress, he fabricated the idea of his only surviving son in order to cope with the loss. This beautiful father-son tale could be Marlin moving through the stages of grief. When he doesn't want Nemo to attend school, it's
Nemo, mom, eat her baby.
because he's in denial he has to part with him, or the idea of him. When Nemo gets captured by the fishing boat, he experiences anger and does everything he can to get him back. Finally, at the end, Marlin learns to let go and finds acceptance. We promise if you give this a rewatch, it'll be hard not to see the truth. Remember in Frozen how Kristoff is wearing that dashing fur outfit that looks really warm? Ever wonder what it's made out of? We think that Kristoff is getting through the cold, snowy winters by wearing Sven's mom's pelt. That's right, we said it. Kristoff and Sven grew up together and became close because Sven's mom was killed by ice harvesters, which Kristoff is. Even if it isn't her specific pelt, we're pretty sure it's made of reindeer, which in itself is pretty intense. The Little Mermaid isn't as sweet and whimsical as you remember. Did you know that in the original Danish version written by Hans Christian Andersen, the prince falls in love with another chick after she's already given up her tail and voice to be with him? That's not all. Her sisters want her to return to the sea, so they make a deal with the sea witch that if their little sister kills the prince, she can return home to her family. But she's unable to go through with it, and instead sacrifices herself instead. Her body turns into sea foam, her soul goes to heaven, and she's effectively dead as a teenager with nobody to love and no family to be with. We're glad Disney didn't stay true to this ending. For any new Miley Cyrus fans out there, we're about to blow your mind. Before Wrecking Ball and Party in the USA came a little show ending to the show, in which the events of the show were actually Miley's childhood fantasies. Checked fantasy.
يا أخي
In Toy Story 2, we meet Jessie. Checked fantasies. While the theory may be far-fetched, the Disney Channel actually ended up releasing an alternate ending to the show, in which the events of the show were actually Miley's childhood fantasies. In Toy Story 2, we meet Jessie, fast-talking, feisty cowgirl doll who immediately won our hearts. After years of being left in a dark box, she's prone to panic attacks. But who left her there? We have reason to believe that it was none other than Andy's toy-abandoning mother. In the films, Andy is seen wearing a cowboy hat, but it's not the same one as Woody's. It actually matches Jessie's. Also, in Jessie's origin story, we can see an image of her lying on a bed next to that same hat. Coincidence? We think not. At the beginning of Aladdin, a lively merchant addresses the viewer by saying good evening, then promptly tries to sell you anything and everything he has in his stall. The pièce de résistance is, of course, the magic lamp that may not be so magic at all. It's very possible that this guy is the best salesman of all time, and has concocted the most elaborate tale of all time just to make a buck. But we all know that the photo of Will Smith as a genie is what really sold the package. Here's a theory that'll make you think about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs a little bit differently. During this scene, we see the prince laying a soft little kiss on dead Snow White, which already in itself is creepy as hell. But instead of her waking up, we have a theory that in that moment she is passing over into the afterlife. As you've probably noticed, a lot of theories that we're looking at is that everyone's actually dead. It's all very depressing, but hey, so's real life. To further bum you out, we want to take a look into why so many of these Disney films don't have mothers in them. It's a common theme. Think of Belle in Beauty and the Beast, or Ariel's mom, who was definitely without a doubt killed by Hook. A Disney producer by the name of Don Hahn has something to say about this. He explains that Walt Disney lost his own mother when a furnace leaked in their home and she died due to the incident. The theory is that Walt was so distraught from this that he couldn't confront the pain from the loss, and therefore didn't want to depict mothers in his films. In Pinocchio, the boy puppet is whisked away to a place called Pleasure Island, where everyone can do whatever they want, whenever they want to. This includes eating their weight in candy, playing with any toy they could dream of, and, oh yeah, smoking at around 6 years old. It's
Bro, what? This is not for kids. Wallah, this Pinocchio movie is not for kids. Like smoking. What?
Seems like a total wonderland. Not like Alice's Wonderland, though. Until boys start turning into literal donkeys. This is not really a theory, more of an observation, but what happens next is that the boys are essentially trafficked. They're put into cages and can't escape. Oh, Disney. Thanks again for filling our heads with nightmares. We're gonna go back to Aladdin real quick to try out this theory on you, that Jafar is actually the good guy. Check it out. We think that the Sultan was doing a horrible job at running Agrabah and was not paying attention to the homeless crisis that was sweeping the nation. Jafar wanted to be in power in order to remedy the issues of poverty, and therefore had to overthrow him in order to fix the problem. Do you buy that? So the original Cinderella is even more problematic than the one we all watched. Apparently, in the first version, when the stepsisters can't fit into the slipper, they cut off parts of their feet to try and convince the prince that they're the rightful owner of this new bloody shoe. In addition, Cindy gets back at them by ordering her bird friends to peck out their eyes. That's one way to punish someone for bullying you. Oh yeah, we almost forgot. She also breaks her stepmother's neck, which, you know, kills her. It's safe to say that this version of Cinderella is significantly way more badass than this little ray of sunshine. In Hercules, we see that his mom and dad, the all-powerful gods Zeus and Hera, have a lot of love for him. When he disappears, they are beside themselves and do everything in their power to get him back. But in the actual Greek myth, Hercules is the result of one of many of Zeus's affairs with a mortal woman. And because of this, Hera can't stand him. In fact, she hated the fact that he was a
If you don't listen to me, they do the lots of mistake. I don't know
half man and half god, and wanted to make him suffer as long as he was alive. Not exactly the mother-son relationship we thought they had. In the novel by Victor Hugo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame suffers a far worse ending than the one in the cartoon. After declining the affection of Quasimodo, our beautiful Esmeralda does not run off with that hot blonde like in the film. Rather, she is hung publicly in the square. Quasimodo lies with her corpse until he dies of starvation. 18 months later, their bodies are found entwined, and when people try to separate them, their bones turn to dust.
What? Why Disney movies are... They have 2D, right? But sometimes they have 3D.
Man, what an image.
Uh-huh.
Tell that one to your kids. Some believe Winnie the Pooh is not just honeypots and woozles.
No.
Rather, it's an allegory for mental disorders. They believe that Piglet represents crippling anxiety, that Rabbit has OCD, that Eeyore suffers from depression, that Pooh is an eating disorder, and that Christopher Robin is schizophrenic. While we can see that
What?
elements of these disorders are definitely present in these characters, we hope for their sakes this isn't the case. Or at the very least, they have access to adequate therapy. Maybe Owl could help. This next theory is not movie-specific. Rather, it targets the whole catalog of films. We think that Disney wanted to further oppress women by only depicting them as weak, often vapid, and definitely in need of a man. Disney also tells us over and over that women need men to survive. In Cinderella, the only way she can get out of her situation is to be whisked away by a prince. In The Little Mermaid, Ariel literally gives her body and voice in order to hang out with a dude she doesn't even know. Even in Frozen, a film that was supposed to be sisterly love, the film still tells us that getting married is the only way that a girl can be happy. It seems Disney wants to teach the younger generation that women are dependent on men, which is one of the darkest theories we can think of. To end, we would like to present the darkest theory of them all, that Disney wanted children to grow up to be racists. We see horrific depictions of Native Americans in Peter Pan. We see a character voiced by an African-American actor literally named Jim Crow. And in the Aristocats, we have a Siamese cat who is playing piano with chopsticks. These outwardly problematic
What the
images
shit?
teach children racist tropes
What
that
the
further oppress
shit?
minority groups.
We are Siamese, if you please.
As Walt Disney himself was said to be an anti-Semite, it makes sense that these kinds of things were okayed by the man in charge. Gilly. In saying that, we look forward to a brighter future, where kids aren't totally traumatized by what they watch. Although we believe that it's fine to have a healthy dose of darkness in a fairy tale, sometimes you have to know when to say when. We hope that for the
Please like and subscribe if you're happy I am back. Okay?